Politicians, journalists, and the media at large are increasingly concerned over loot boxes creating a gambling addiction in young children. Headlines about gambling and gaming are all over the internet, but the overwhelming majority of stories are about using real-world currency to gamble on in-game items. Rather than waste my time delving into a polarizing topic that will inevitably end up in a shouting match, I just want to look back at gambling in games. Like regular gambling, you know, casinos with slot machines and card games. So here it is, a look back at gambling in games and how it's evolved but mostly stayed the same over the years. To be clear, I've excluded games that are strictly about gambling. I would have loved to include Super Caesar's Palace for the Super Nintendo and games like that, but this video is about games that have gambling as a mini-game, side quest, or optional activity. Enjoy! Gambling is one of my favorite side activities in gaming. There's something about taking a break from the grind to just enjoy yourself and get lost in the excitement of spending your hard-earned in-game currency on a chance. Sometimes it's based on luck, other times on skill, but developers have spent extra effort over the years to give us something memorable to do. Whether good or bad, there are lots of memories attached to it. Take Final Fantasy VII's Gold Saucer, for example. You're far enough into the story that you understand what's going on, and you've ran into enough bosses that you are familiar with gameplay. Then, all of a sudden, mini-games are everywhere. For a few thousand gil, you can buy a pass to the Gold Saucer, go inside and wager your points on the shooter coaster, fight in the battle arena, race chocobos, go on a date with Tifa. Any other choice is unacceptable, or play arm wrestling, basketball, race your bike, or go snowboarding. There aren't many examples of gambling in games that offers more to do, especially during the 1990s. The Gold Saucer will forever be a shining example of gambling done right. It doesn't feel like you have much to lose, though, and that does hold it back. Other casino-like areas have done a better job of making players feel like there's a reason for them to gamble. Look no further than Grand Theft Auto. I remember betting on horse races and finally gaining access to the casinos in the later part of San Andreas. You could play blackjack, roulette, slots, video poker, craps, and regular poker, all while maxing out your gambling skill. San Andreas was one of the first times that I ever encountered a game inside of a game. A place where I could spend as much time doing something for the heck of it as I could doing missions or progressing through the story. I spent enough time in the Four Dragons Casino to be filthy rich before I ever beat the game, and I'll always remember spending those countless hours wagering money on chance. Rockstar did even better with last year's casino update to GTA 5. Not only could you risk your cash to win more cash, but you could improve other parts of your online empire. There were playable missions, a story centered around the casino, a chance to win cars, more parking spaces, and plenty of reasons to play. I want to highlight that because it's what makes GTA's casinos feel special. There's never the question of why am I doing this or what do I get if I win, because there's plenty there to make it feel worth your time. Sure, the slots were buggy and some of the games were rough around the edges, but where else can you become a multi-millionaire on horse races and drive off in the hottest luxury automobile in town? Only in San Andreas. Well, not quite. Rockstar also has gambling in one of its other famous franchises. John Marston and Arthur Morgan have been known to hit up a saloon or two for a game of five-finger fillet. You can also play Texas Hold'em and Blackjack, both of which are a great way to pass the time. Red Dead 2 also gave us dominoes and plenty of gambling challenges to complete. The problem is, those challenges don't really feel like a good reason to play in the same way that GTA does. The gambling in Red Dead has lots of personality, and it's a really neat addition to the historical appeal of the Old West. It helps create the world and gives players freedom to do something else. But other than outfits, I don't remember seeing any reason to keep playing, so it started to feel boring much more quickly than it did in San Andreas. Blackjack is also hella slow to play in Red Dead, and overall gambling is an underwhelming aspect of the game. It's good, it's fine, but it doesn't have as much staying power, especially when there are so many other side activities for John and Arthur to do. Another great casino comes from one of my favorite games ever made. There are a handful of areas that offer gambling in Fallout New Vegas, and it's a great way to burn time. There's actually a quest line that I never completed but would love to one day, maybe. It works like this: if you win a certain amount of chips from a casino, you can be banned from that particular casino. Along the way, you receive various awards and keys to unlock some pretty decent items until eventually you're banned from every casino in the game. If you're dedicated enough, you can get an achievement for being the most notorious gambler in the NCR. It's all good and fun, but there's one thing that holds New Vegas' gambling back. You can pretty much break the game with the luck attribute, and if you dump enough into it, you'll roll right through the tables with incredible ease. New Vegas also falls short of GTA 5 in reasons to gamble. Sure, you can get access to a couple of different suites that are otherwise inaccessible, but there's nothing of note within those rooms. It just doesn't feel as rewarding as it should, although maxing out your luck stat to stick it to the dealer is a pretty good feeling. The next type of gambling in games we're going to look at isn't about playing for a reason. Instead, these are forms of gambling that are just fun because of the game itself. The first time I was ever sucked into this type of gambling was in Knights of the Old Republic 2. Atton is one of the most annoying but somehow likable characters in the game, and I remember hearing of his past throughout the story and wondering, what's up with this guy? He gives off a kind of rogue smuggler vibe, so it's of little surprise that he also has a propensity for gambling. A little way into the main story, you were introduced to the game of Pazak, a card game that works sort of like blackjack. The object of the game is to have your face-up cards total higher than your opponent's hand without exceeding a total of 20. If a player's total is greater than 20 at the end of a turn, that's a bust, the opponent wins the set, and a player must win 3 sets to win the match and collect the prize. I was quickly drawn into Pazak, and I realized after a while that I was only playing for one reason: to get better cards to play more Pazak. That's why I'm including it, because it represents the type of gambling in games that doesn't offer great rewards or any real reasons to play, but it stands on its own merit. It's only good because playing the cards is fun in and of itself, which is different than GTA, where you're playing to get better stuff for your character. Rewards for playing Pazak are scarce, but it's the type of gambling that is fun because you're trying to beat your opponent, and not so much because you're hoping for luck. Pazak brings the elements of strategy out more than slot machines or roulette, and because it's set in the KOTOR universe, it has more personality than your typical game of blackjack. You can run into a Pazak player anywhere in the galaxy, and for some reason you sit down to play again, even though you know the only thing you're gonna win is another, better card to add to your deck, so you can go play and play and play. Another example of this is found in The Witcher. Similar to Pazak, Gwent is a game inside another game that is, at best, a thing thrown in to flesh out the world a little bit. It's also arguable that Gwent is just condottieri with a change in scenery. This is by no means a negative, however, as by a similar deconstruction, Minecraft is just sandcastles. Instead, it just shows that successful games are often built on the iteration of other successful games. Gwent's success is easy, then, to follow. From Condottieri, a suitably medieval-seeming and unique feeling but provably successful title, to Gwent, the CD Projekt Red interpretation of Andrzej Sapkowski's Gwent, without, perhaps, requiring additional licensing or contact and elucidation by the point of origination, as CDPR and Sapkowski weren't exactly on speaking terms at the time. From there, it's no different than Pazak, or Liar's Dice. Players enjoyed this diversion as much, or maybe even more, than the other diversions available in the game. Certainly no one seems to have taken to The Witcher's other minigames like fist fighting or horse racing like they did with Gwent, much as they didn't take to dice poker from The Witcher 1 and 2 in the same ways before dice poker was replaced with Gwent. Gwent is, by itself, just another Pazak, a fun diversion in-game, with some new rules to learn that seem exotic, yet well designed. It's a game that you can feel has been playtested by tens or hundreds of thousands of people over a long period of time, and refined into a thoroughly enjoyable game with logical rules and a sense of progression. What sets Gwent apart is simply that the developers decided to piecemeal it out and provide a standalone experience for it, and it's naturally monetizable because of the collectible cards, versus, say, the set of dice in Liar's Dice. And while you might be able to sell different colored die, you can't simply create a new die entirely with new rules and weaknesses. Gwent and Pazak are perhaps more important than any other type of gambling in games because they contribute to the immersion of the gamer. It offers something that goes deeper than items. It makes you feel like you're a part of the universe you're playing in. For me personally, that's why I play games, to get absorbed. The last casino we'll look at is simple and lacks refinement, but it's classic. It makes you feel nervous because you might lose and you have no control over the outcome. It's chaos, but it feels good. I've spent more time than I'd like to admit at Moxie's lately. I've been playing a lot of Borderlands 3 since it came out, and I've spent more Iridium on the slots than I'd like to admit. I was streaming the game with a friend and I hit 3 rifles in a row, the reward for which is a guaranteed legendary weapon. Instead, I got nothing. I was very angry, especially when my buddy played the slots a couple of minutes later, got 3 rifles in a row, and received a brand new legendary gun. I was cheated, swindled, bamboozled, run amok, shankai'd. But it was at that moment that I knew I had to keep playing. I would keep giving away 10 iridium for one more pull until I got that exotic drop that I so desired. A few hundred iridium later, it still hasn't happened. I've got some purple shields and mods, but no legendary gun. But it could happen. It's the same reason I like CSGO skins. The difference is, iridium isn't real money, and that's what separates good in-game gambling from scummy in-game gambling like loot boxes. But that's a topic for another discussion. Moxie gets gambling right because she keeps it simple. It's a game of chance. Do you feel lucky, Vault Hunter? Do ya? Feel lucky, Vault Hunter? Well, spin again. In conclusion, gambling in games has taken on many forms over the years, and some examples are more fun than others. Final Fantasy VII had lots of fun minigames. GTA V had lots of payoff and good reasons to keep gambling. Gwent is well designed and stands on its own entertainment value, and Borderlands nails the feeling of just one more spin, and I know I'm gonna get what I want. The best in-game gambling goes beneath the surface of luck. Good gambling contributes to the universe in which it lives. Five Finger Filet belongs in Red Dead, and Pazak belongs in Star Wars. Neither offer a lot of rewards, but both are a worthy diversion. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at gambling in games. Tell me about your own experiences in the comments below. Who knows? Maybe I can do a part 2 if you guys feel like I missed a lot. We'd love for you to share us on Reddit and help spread the word about the content we're creating. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.